let's talk about climate change.
Climate change, sustainability, all those things kind of flow together.
Right.
So I would emphasize the fact that ag is a viable and strong advocate of doing the right thing for the climate. Have we made mistakes in the past? Yeah. Have we learned from them? Yes. We reduced fertilizer input into our crops because of pollution into rivers and stuff that, but we live and we learn. We also, an alfalfa field, a cotton field, a grove of pecans, those are all plants, and they're pulling carbon out of the air, and they're putting it back in the ground.
Right.
And so that's part of ag, whether you like it or not. And there's a lot of studies recently on cover crops and some other things going on, pasture programs and ranches, all kinds of different valuations and measurements on how in ag we can adjust our processes to provide more carbon sequestering. And so, we are a piece of the solution, not a piece of the problem.
Right.
That being said, we're all human. We all have an impact on the environment, whether we like it or not. And we can't not have an impact on the environment. The question is, how do we manage that impact?
Well, and I'd say some of the other things that the customers are doing is, like Matt said, they're natural resource managers. And we have customers that not only is it air pollution that you think about for climate, but light pollution. Mm-hmm. We have those that have been working to have, natural habitats put into place on their operations to help with bringing back certain species. I think of a client specifically that's in northern Arizona that does a dark sky project where there's no lights, and they've gone through and dealt with the government and how do you make this better? How do you do these things? So it's not just pollution, like Matt was saying, that they're, carbon positive versus carbon negative, right, and looking at things, but it's also the other aspects of climate change and how it impacts everything.
Yeah, I have to say my limited exposure to the industry is I'm always surprised at how much focus there is by our clients on these kind of more global climate change issues. And it's very interesting. So, I would just, my personal opinion would be, I think they're one of the most responsible groups in, when you're looking at the whole landscape of industries. I think they're one of the most responsible groups, and I think they're setting a great example. What are some of the adjustments that agriculture industry is doing to kind of offset the heat and potentially the increase in heat?
Well, and it's not just a matter of the heat and aspect of it, but the drought. There's different genetic modifications that's being grown in Arizona and in southern Arizona for drought tolerant and less susceptible heat impacts for be it the cotton or corn or wheat. They typically use Arizona as a breeding ground for some of these testing aspects to help find the right genetics to grow corn in Africa with the increased heat and the reduced water as well. So It's a matter of using technology like we were talking about before,
right, and
not only just for water application for the environment, but how do you make the plants adapt to have more with less?
And I think undoubtedly, first of all, people confuse climate with weather. Mm-hmm. Weather is, day to day, month to month, right, season to season. Climate means longer term changes in the weather patterns, basically, in temperatures and stuff like that. So undoubtedly, we've seen that. We have less Pima cotton growing in Arizona than in the past, and that's because our nights don't cool down as much as they did 20 or 30 years ago, and you needed that cool down period for Pima cotton more than you did for short staple cotton. We've seen planting dates change for different crops. And as Carrie said, though, in addition to all that, we've got the technology to adjust the genetics of these plants. If you look at outside of Arizona, you look at the Corn Belt. Every year, the Corn Belt, there's going to be a drought. There's going to be this. It's going to be horrible. We bring in the same amount of corn almost every year, regardless, right, of all that. And that's because we've developed corn genetics that can withstand drought, regardless of what the climate does long long haul, those are going to pay off hugely. I mean, even if we got back into cooler temperatures
Right.
and wetter climate, the fact that you have less input is going to benefit long term. So climate's an issue, but again, that's a deal that ag faces those kind of issues every single day.
Right.
You know, when COVID broke, and I was talking to a guy, and his comment was, "Yeah, well, it's just another thing we got to deal with," and that's kind of what ag people look like. I mean, in reality, agriculturalists are optimists. If you're going to stick a seed in the ground and water it, and dump a lot of money on it, and wait for it to grow and produce something, you have to be an optimist.